To buy a plant is a story. To find the right spot to put it is another one. If you are new to the plant keeping community, or maybe you need some help differentiating the various lighting conditions that we talk about in our guides, then keep on watching because I am going to make it clear for you once and for all. You will not need another lighting guide. So let's get started, first naming the lighting conditions: bright direct, indirect, medium and low lights. Let's get started with the bright direct lighting condition. What we mean by this is that the sun rays are touching directly the plant leaves. That means that there is no obstruction between the sun and the plant. This is considered the strongest lighting condition, but is also kind of unsafe for a lot of plants. And this is because we run the risk of scorching the leaves, kind of cooking them, burning them, you get me. This will not work with all the houseplants, but it can work quite well with some cacti and some succulents. And here comes a unique thing about this lighting condition, that is, sometimes we want to stress a plant to change its color. For example, in succulents, we can create different coloring other than green if we let the succulent sit in the sun for a couple of hours. Then, because it tries to protect itself, it will change its color. The same can happen, for example, with Hoyas. If a Hoya is in direct sun, it might change the color to red, so it can not get scorched. Now keep in mind that this condition is mostly used in outdoor plants like chrysanthemums, in trees, especially trees, and many vegetable gardens or something, because we need the direct sun to help with the growth of the plants. Now let's move on to the second lighting condition, which is considered the best for almost every houseplant out there, but it is not that available to everyone, is the bright indirect lighting. This is when the plant sits in a spot where the sun rays cannot touch it, but it has a really clear view of the sky. We have no buildings, no trees, no leaves, nothing. Now, if we have a window where the sun rays tend to get inside the house, what we can do in order to not scorch our plants, give them bright indirect filtered light, is to put a sheer curtain or maybe another plant that can withstand the direct lighting, so it can filter the sunlight kind of for the plant in the behind. This is also what kind of happens in many rivers, maybe, where we have a lot of trees, but the leaves with the air are moving, so they are creating a kind of moving sunlight rays that will not burn the leaves. That's why the ferns survive. You can see how symbiotic is the whole nature out there in the wilderness, where the trees that need the direct light take the direct light, and then they shelter smaller plants that need a filtered light underneath them, on the barks or at the roots, near the roots, like the orchids, for example, that hang themselves on the trees, or maybe some types of ferns and other kind of tropical cactuses and everything. Now let's move on to the third lighting condition, which is the medium light. It is when the plant sits further than, I would say, 1 meter away from the window, so it can kind of see the sky, but not as much as a plant in a bright, direct location. And now you could ask me if the thing that I was talking earlier about the filtering leaves and the sheer curtains actually belongs to the bright, indirect, filtered kind of condition, or to a medium, because we have the obstruction. Well, that actually depends on the situation, and I don't know if you will hear it a lot around. I haven't really searched, but it actually depends on the reflecting surfaces. I burnt you. For example, in the wild, where we have the filtering leaves and everything, we also might have a water source, and that actually reflects the light back. So it is a bright, indirect, filtered lighting condition. The medium is when we do not have that many, I would say none at all, of the reflecting surfaces. It is just the window, the plant, and nothing else to bounce that light. You could actually maybe increase the efficiency of this light if you put mirrors in your room. That is a great idea. Some years before, I was actually thinking of turning my whole wall here as a mirror wall because I am actually struggling with the light, but ended up on getting grow lights. Medium light intensity, well, is mediocre. That means that the plants can survive, maybe will not have the best, strongest growth ever, but they will not struggle as well. So that is something that kind of helps a lot of the addicted plant parents, because you can't give bright indirect light to everything, but you can give a lot of medium light, and that means that you should not be afraid of the medium light. Just don't go lower. And now we come to the most controversial lighting condition that there is out there. And take that as a caution that I will say now. A lot of videos, maybe mine in the future, will say plants that love low light. There is not such thing as plants that love low light. Low light is the light with no light. For example, a basement, a room without doors or windows. A room without windows, maybe a wardrobe for the plants that need punishment. This will not work. Because most of the plants, if you don't include some really rare plants that don't photosynthesize the way that the plants do, go find one. Well, we'll need light in order to survive. That means that if you have a plant, for example, the Sansevieria, the low light loving plant, it will just struggle and survive, hoping that one day you will move it back to the light. But this will stand its growth, maybe mess up with the coloring if you have a variegated or something, and probably increase the chances of root rot as well, because if the plant cannot photosynthesize, the water that you put in will not be able to get used, so, well, yes, it will not end up well for your pocket and your plant, so just avoid this lighting condition if it's possible. That means that you will either have to not buy any plants for a room with no natural light source, or create an artificial one. If you need a tip about the lighting, well, don't change a plant's lighting condition too fast. Like you want to train a plant like a monstera to withstand the direct light of the winter, for example. Just move the plant gradually to the desired spot that you want to put it. You should also keep in mind that depending on if you are in the northern hemisphere or in the southern hemisphere and the position of your windows, the light intensity can vary a lot. For example, in the northern hemisphere, an east window will get the soft morning light that is not that harsh. Plants can withstand some of this sunlight. But if you have a west window like I do here, especially in the summer, this sunlight can actually burn not only your plants but you as well. And for northern hemisphere, the south windows get the most of the light. So you could consider yourself lucky if you have many south-facing windows here at the northern hemisphere because, well, you get the bright direct, indirect lighting condition. And if you are in the southern hemisphere, then north windows is for you the great deal.